Hello, my name is Peter, aka TRSCP as I go by on Twitch, and today I'll be showcasing the game Lenna's Inception for submission to marathons. This game is best described as a Zelda clone, even though I feel it has more to offer than that. But just to put it simply, and so that it's pretty easy to grasp the concept, it's a Zelda clone. Think of like a 2D Zelda game, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening. Today I'll be running the sacrifice ending, which equates to an all bosses run. This is the standard ending for the game that anyone that picks it up, this is what they'll be doing first. No crazy tricks or inside information, just playing the game start to finish. Pretty fun game. I feel it has a big draw to the Link to the Past randomizer crowd, or even Zelda 1 randomizers for that matter. Random generation plays a big part in this game. Your world is based on the seed name, and I currently hold the record for the random seed run. So when I get going here, it will provide a random seed name, and I'll have no insight, no guide, no maps, nothing, just my knowledge of the game in general, and I'm going to try to go fast. Should be able to get this done within an hour. We go by in-game time because of people's computers can't process the game quite the same, so there's, you know, we can't really go off of RTA, but I will be showing that just in case you guys need to see that. We do both, but IGT is what we run with. So I'm just going to go and start up story mode here, and this should all be set here. A Buddha. All right. The game starts out, you are a teacher in a classroom. Not much going on there. I'll try to explain the game as best I can as I go along. It's kind of hard for me to describe the game and also play it at the same time. But I'll do my best. It's the only thing that you are... Alright. The only thing that we are guaranteed off the bat here is there's a chicken that shows you the way. I need to check this real quick. This might be a good run, actually. All right, blast protection. That's not terrible. I'll get into that later. So you start out following this chicken. We meet the main antagonist outside of this building, and the village elder is dead. There are quite a few tropes in this game that tie into Zelda games and just games in general. The game is loaded with puns. We have to deliver the parcel to the hero named Lance. Lance doesn't really talk at all. Mash through this text best we can, and we are off to the races. Good shop location here. You know what? I'm just going to check something real quick. So one thing that we do when running this game is we need a good tunic. And there's a cheap tunic right there, so we're going to check that real quick. Strength tunic. I think I'm going to stick with that, actually. Strength tunic lets us deal more damage, which will actually be pretty handy for us handling enemies later on. Everything in this game is randomized. The map layout and the overworld, the dungeon order, what enemies are inside the dungeon, so on and so forth. So classic randomizer, I guess you could say. Classic moves there. So we do not need to stock up on 20 coins because we already got it. And I'm already falling behind here because I did the tunic check before Dungeon 1. Did I skip a room? Hold on. No, I did not. All right. We can go ahead and skip all these enemies. We have the key to get through. The game is pretty lenient with that. It lets you go where you need to. That's an interesting room. But we need to teach the... I don't need that map. I already know where I'm going. I think it's up, but... No, actually... Interesting! The game did just have a recent patch. So that makes that room pretty easy. I forgot to mention that the game recently just updated to patch 1.0.10 from 1.0.9. Alright, we're already at the boss. Kind of a weird dungeon layout for me to be doing this with. Also, I got the items, sorry. I'm terrible with my splits, but all that really matters is the start and the finish. A lot happens early in this game. The hero just got killed. The hero didn't know what he was doing, so we got to take his place, and we have to avenge the death of the village elder. It's kind of the general idea of the story. The story is actually pretty deep in this game. Unfortunately, I will be skipping a lot of it. I did pick up that bike, which lets us warp around, and we can take advantage of that throughout the entire run, especially once you defeat the bosses. Boss 1 and Boss 8 are always in the same order. And we do that, and we just skipped a cutscene. So that saves us a bit of time there. So we have Lance's phone, so people are going to talk to us as though we are Lance. You know, they leave voicemails or whatever. And we're kind of on our way here. We're going to go visit Best Girl Paige. She tells us where we need to go. You don't need to visit Paige if you don't want to. The tiles on the map will actually show you where you need to go. This just kind of gives you the exact order that you need to go. So we know we need to go straight west. As the game progresses, you unlock items in each dungeon. Pretty standard stuff. Now we have a nice sword, so we can cut through this grass, so we can go on our way. I don't know if you guys saw that up top there. There was some holes that we need to jump over, but we don't have an item to jump with yet, so we can't do that. So we have to find another way around. Hopefully I have to go the other way. Awesome. Let's try from here. Early game, it's a lot of exploration. And you have to find the right routing, which really throws a gear in everything. But later on, movement becomes not an issue. And as we are playing the sacrifice ending and fighting all of the bosses, we will be picking up the Archangel Hearts, which are basically heart containers. So especially late game, we don't really have to worry about taking too much damage because we will have a lot of hearts. We're playing one of the other endings, Catastrophe or Perfect Ending. You pretty much play those games with just 3 hearts, and it's a little bit more of a challenge. A risk and reward kind of thing. For the most part, not too bad. There are pets in this game. You can get partners. Don't need them. Kind of faster to go without them. So here we are at Dungeon 2, and we got this awesome layout. This template of the forest, which isn't really going to matter too much right now. If this showed up later in the game, it would be an issue. We get an item later that lets us do screen wrapping and stuff like that. And here we are in the first item room of the game, and we actually have to do some big fighting on. Easy enough that we have the strength tunic. There we go. There's our item. And now we can continue on to the boss. I am going to rearrange my items real quick. I always put them in a certain order. Unfortunately, we cannot skip that lasso. Oh well. Basically the hook shot of sorts. Alright, so we know we need to go down. And actually, I'm gonna get rid of that and swap tunics. Sorry, I'm playing a little slow right now. Blast protection tunic means I do not take damage from the bombs, which is kind of handy. Strength tunic is just gonna show how good it really is, though. Basically, instead of 2 swipes on a lot of enemies, you only have to do 1. So that is pretty handy. Normally these guys take 3 hits, but again, strength tunic, 2 swings and we're done. And there's the boss key. And starting with this dungeon, this is where bosses are in random order up until Dungeon 8. Dungeon 1 and 8 always have the same bosses. 2 through 7 are always random. Which again kind of just adds to the appeal of this game, I think, for a lot of people. I'm trying to get a lineup here on this boss. Bosses usually aren't too tough if you know what you're doing. I'll let this one get away from me. See if I can get lucky here with a blind lineup. Am I in the center of the screen? I am. All right. So we just skipped an entire phase right there. Not much for me to talk about here. Just straightforward stuff. Use the items you find in the dungeon, usually to kill the bosses. So there is some linearity there. You're not going to come across a dungeon where you need an item that you don't have. So the game's generation does actually line up really well with that. We're almost done with this boss. And I will apologize right now. Hopefully I can do my best to commentate and explain this run while I'm doing it. Normally I just run and just kind of, you know, add commentary. Look at this. There's 2 dungeons on the same screen? Really? Okay. So that is not an enemy. This is actually one of the pets you can pick up. But we're not going to do that. Pets will help you fight in the game. There's actually quite a bit of fun you can do there. But for this run, we don't need it. Also, sorry, I forgot my split. And an early Dungeon 3. Or a quick Dungeon 3, I should say. We're just going to work our way on through. While I'm working my way through here, it's pretty much business as usual at this point. I think I've done a good chunk of the explaining so far. I can talk about the different endings. This might be a map. Easy enough to check. It's a meteor. I don't want that. And since we know that that was the meteor, this will be the map. As we go through the game, the dungeons actually get larger and a little more complex to get through. So being able to pick up a map is pretty handy. I can't even go up on the screen. I don't have any way to swim yet. Since we will knock in this next room. There we go. The game does have 3 endings. Sacrifice, Catastrophe, and Perfect ending. Without giving too much away, Sacrifice is, like I said before, all bosses. Catastrophe is basically the equivalent to an any % run, and then Perfect ending would be the closest thing we have to 100%. There's a lot of you got to go find some story items and stuff for Perfect ending. Any 100% or a pacifist would be another way to describe it, I suppose. Catastrophe is the quickest, Sacrifice is in the middle, and Perfect is the longest run. It also has a pretty unique ending, so that's kind of cool. We're not showing that off today. Game offers quite a bit of replayability, like I said before. I'm good on items. This will be key that we need to get into the door right above it. Let's go and get to this boss. First 3 dungeons, pretty straightforward, nothing to them usually. Starting at dungeon 4, we are going to play the game a little bit out of order. We will just be picking up the items in the dungeon, and then we will come back to fight the boss later. The item in the 8th dungeon actually lets us skip quite a bit of the game as far as dungeons go. Essentially, it's a world wrap item, or a screen wrap item. So instead of us having to find the keys, we can just kind of glitch our way into the boss, which is really handy. So if you guys recall the first screen of the game, we were in a classroom with 8 desks. There was 8 different students there. Those actually give us the order of the bosses. So we can kind of use that. And fortunately, I got 2 of the longest bosses out of the way early, so I don't have to fight their phase 2. Coming up here, we will have to start fighting phase 2 of bosses. I forget the order, actually, offhand. You know what? I'm just going to go up here. Let's just try up here. All right. as we go through. We're always looking for a certain item. It's called the speed tunic, and it does increase our speed. We don't get the benefit of being stronger or being able to resist blasts. I actually have to go back. That was the screen I needed. There we go. Oh, that's swim recharge. And we are here at the Guild LLC. Just saw something interesting there. Dungeon 4 and Dungeon 8, you do not start at the dungeon entrance. So both of those dungeons, the first goal that we have is to find the entrance so we can use the bike to warp out when we need to. But as you can see by my splits up here, it no longer says boss until we get through Dungeon 8. So we are just collecting items. 5 hearts until we get to the end of Dungeon 8, pretty much. I'm sorry, 6 hearts. I can't count. And an early item off the bat. Okay, that's kind of handy, but I do have to go find the dungeon entrance. I'm a little rusty. I haven't been playing the game as much lately. But I guess right there, that kind of just paid off a little bit. Going up instead of down on the start screen. So we do have to find our way out to the entrance. If you were playing this game casually, you would just continue and go find the boss, and then it would just warp you out to the start. But since we aren't fighting the boss, we have to find the start ourselves. It's right there, so we are out of here. More dialogue, and we are on to the second half of the game. We now have quite a few items that allow us to do some movement stuff. Swimming, jumping, and bombs. Pretty handy items. And we can just go ahead, and again, we can just warp around with that bike. And we can find our way through to get to the next point. All right, and I'm in. So there's the Phoenix Ash. If you're playing this casually, that would be an item that you pick up. You actually give that to the chicken that you get off the start of the game. But again, don't need it. And if you see me throwing bombs, it's because I'm mashing the button that the bombs are on. Skipping a lot of dialogue, a lot of story here. This is Delvin, everyone's favorite character. And he basically says, I'll help you, just give me your phone number, and I'll keep in touch with you on some stuff that I find. And we're on to the second half of the game. Alright, so we have to go up. Map checks happen pretty often. I do feel pretty good about this run so far. We don't need to pick up any money. Personally, I don't need to pick up any money in the run. This will be the strength dungeon. Fun boss, but we won't see it until way later. Personally, I like to think that I'm doing pretty well if the in-game timer is at 16 minutes or less getting into the second half. Also, we need to start picking up maps and stuff and checking all of that out. We don't need to go over that way. I don't know if that was faster to warp back or not, but we're doing it. Now, if I were to have somebody commentate the game for me... Also, I just realized I don't want this on my hotbar. That is the Power of Compassion. We use that for a different ending in the game, but in this run, we don't use it at all. Oh, get a little poison damage there. Not a big deal. Hover enemies! Nice! I like it. So again, the game, this new patch just released, this 1.0.10, or 1.0.10, if you want to call it that. Hover enemies, kind of a pain. Luckily, we can handle them pretty easily here, and we're out. Knowing the map layout for dungeons 4 through 8 are actually pretty handy. Like I said earlier, we will be skipping a lot of the dungeon in 4 through 8. So if we can know where we need to go, that's pretty handy. That guy there gives us an axe, but we don't need that again, so we can skip it. Even though this is all bosses, there are still quite a few things that we skip, so. And we're in 6 already. I believe this is going to be lighter, and then last would be arrows? I've been seeing a lot of ice, so that kind of, if you forget the order, or if you didn't pay attention to the order, just seeing what is around you and your surroundings kind of helps you out a lot. Oh, this is a bad room. I'm gonna fight it, whatever. Kind of the whiz robes of the game here. Kind of warp around and do their best to just run away from you. It's unfortunate, but oh well. Don't need it, so I'm not picking it up. Don't know the dungeon layout, so we gotta... There we go. Alright. And on we go. No, I lied. We are getting arrows in this dungeon, and that was a dead end. It's a lighter in 7. Okay. It is a nice item to get early. The lighter lets you melt ice blocks, which opens up more of the map. And at the same time, it's also what you use to dash, which is another little speed move. Not the most useful, but it is pretty handy. So we did get a key there, but it is not the boss key. Dungeon 6 has 2 keys. It's a blue and a green. They are giving me quite the set of rooms here. Alright, I am low on health. Shouldn't be too big of an issue though. So again, all we need to find is the item. These guys always give hearts, so I will grab those. Just winding our way through here. Don't need to fight these guys, so I can just skip all this. It is pretty handy to use your environment to your advantage. Knock enemies off into the water or into big pits like that. Thank you for playing along there, game. Here's our... Alright. Like I said right there. One quick swing and knock an enemy into the pit there. And we are on to Dungeon 7. So we now have an arrow, bow and arrow. You can also shoot bombs like that. It does not use up arrows, it just uses up the bombs. Pretty handy. Generally speaking, it's a pretty strong combo. Not one that people will discover right away unless they have prior knowledge of, you know, Zelda games and such. And here we are. So now we are in Dungeon 7. We're going to get the lighter here. Pretty handy. Unfortunate it's late in the game. But it is required. If this was a seeded run, you can do all sorts of stuff. You can actually skip some of these dungeons, some of the dungeon items. But when you're racing random, or running random, however you want to say that, you don't have that luxury. So we have to actually kind of just work our way through. Oh, I can't go that way. Oh my gosh. All the way around. I am down to 1 heart. Hopefully that's not a big issue. We'll see. So these guys do explode. We do have the blast. You know what? We're going to switch tunics, actually. We are going to go ahead and switch tunics. Just a little bit of safety. These guys no longer pose a threat. As you can see, they're exploding, and I'm walking right into their hitboxes, and they are doing 0 damage. There's a map. Again, maps are really handy. It's an unfortunate dungeon layout. There are patterns for the dungeons. Like 6 is usually called Rocket Ship, but it could be a different pattern. Unfortunately, these guys just drop bombs, so No heals out for those guys, and there's a lot of them. That's what the draw gave me this time. But luckily, we did get the tunic that lets us kind of deal with that. All right, get a couple hearts here. This guy's kind of annoying, but luckily, get him up against a wall, and they are not an issue. Heart counter is looking pretty good. So yeah, all right. We had a green key door back here. We know where the boss is. We're not going to see the boss yet. We will come back later. We just have to work our way through this dungeon. Unfortunately, it's a late item, so we do have to do a lot of this dungeon normally. That's okay. It all kind of works out in the end. Push puzzles also get more complex. There we go. We got it. All right. So working our way through here. It's not much for me to talk about. I guess I could explain the. I don't know why I'm trying to hit that guy. I could explain once we get the glasses in each of these dungeons. Ooh, that's a lot of dudes there. Dungeons 4 through 8 all have a secret room. This is actually really handy. Just stay there. Dungeons 4 through 8 all have a secret room, and one of those secret rooms houses one of the best items in the game, if you can find it. That item being the revolver. The revolver one-shots enemies, and you basically use that for bosses. I can finally go and get rid of that whistle off my bar there. We use that on the final boss in the game. It just saves us like a minute and some change. If you can hit your shot, if not, gotta fight it normally. So hopefully I can get that shot. I will be taking some extra safety here when I get to that point, just to make sure that I don't miss, because missing sucks. So we are down to a heart and a half. Let's just see if these have hearts in them. Nope. Okay. All right. We're almost done with our item collecting for this category. There's a little puzzle dungeon, if you want to call it that. Fortunately, we can skip most of it. There we go. There's an entire left side that, quite frankly, a lot of us don't even know how to do. Unfortunately, I did have to do it once. When I was doing a run of this game. But for the most part, you can just skip it. Lighter dash is sort of like the Pegasus boots. Once you do a nice little dash there. And then you can combine that with the jump that you got earlier in the game. And yeah, skip some stuff there. It's quite fun. So Dungeon 8 is one of the most it's one of the most complex dungeons in the game. I won't say it is the most complex for first time runners. There's an area after this that is tougher, but once you figure it out, it's not that bad. All right, so we are at the bottom of the screen here. So fortunately, well, there's a nice early entrance. That's kind of handy. With Dungeon 8, you can actually see where the secret room is. These walls are flickering. It's a glitch dungeon. That's kind of the premise. Which, if we were watching the cutscenes when we killed the bosses, we would know that. But since we aren't, we don't. Fortunately, this effect can actually be turned off. Seizure warning, epilepsy, anything like that. It can all be skipped. So that is pretty handy. And we got an early 8 item? Okay. We got a very friendly 8. Oh my gosh. All right, so this is the glasses. So basically we can break the game now. You can see the glasses do all this fun stuff. So now we're gonna fight the boss of this dungeon. And here you go. You can see I can just kind of go outside of the map. If you recall, earlier I had a forest layout, which was not good, not fun. I think I know where the secret item is, so I'm going to go over this way. I'm pretty sure this is a smiley face. Oh, no? Okay. Darn it. Usually the boss is at the top. The one drawback to these glasses is you do have to, you know, just kind of search your screens. But I will take the time here to look. Because you never know. Alright, let's go ahead and wrap to the top. So I think this dungeon layout is a smiley face. Alright, we got a good run here, actually. So here's the revolver. The fact that I found that in the first search of the dungeon, that's handy. So yep, this is smiley face. And we found the... Okay, alright. We got a good run here, guys. I know I'm doing this for like a marathon showcase to get this game accepted. But we got a pretty good thing going here. Since we have that blast protection tunic, we can just go ahead and abuse this boss's first attacks here. This is Hatasia. Please be nice and give me lots of hearts. Alright. So now that we have collected all the items, we will start fighting the bosses that we skipped. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're pretty much done with the game. Wherever the heart shows before is always where the heart is. I gotta do this phase here, a little dodge section. The bosses in this game are actually a lot of fun. All their little quirks and such. Most of them have some pretty good, easy guides to how to fight them. Usually makes them a lot easier to deal with. So I'm actually feeling pretty good. The current world record for in-game time random run that we're doing right now is 43 minutes 44 seconds. That's the IGT timer that you see over there. So let's see. This might actually be this might be a good run here. Right, I needed that for this. All right, where are you at? Nice. Please stay right there. And again, with this blast protection tunic, I can just avoid damage. I actually hit the boss there, so I hit their hitbox. I didn't hit their explosions. Real easy fight here. Oh, I just goofed it up. Still not that bad. There we go. Nothing to it. Clean up some of these ads. The fight's done, by the way. Wow. That's actually a really good Dungeon 8. Alright, so now we get to backtrack. Alright, so the first... Oh, okay, that's right. There was some new stuff added. Nice, okay. Right, there's a wall there. There's a hammer there. We don't need that, though. Okay. So this is the palace. This is the final area of the game for this category. That area is not random. It's not randomly generated. It actually is scripted. So that's where some routing can actually come into place. There are people that have videos on that. They're available online, so check those out. Shoutouts to Zari. We know where the boss is, so we can go and just get up in there. Another secret item. Well, we don't need it, so we can go ahead and skip it. One more screen up. And we are fighting the boss. So again, we're kind of in go mode right now. We know where all the bosses are. We know where stuff is. So we just have to do some pretty straightforward stuff here. Take out the bosses, which we know how to fight, and we're done with the game. I don't want to speak too soon, but this boss is basically locked behind a timer for each of those phases. And then here's phase 2. And phase 2 is done with right there. Easy enough. And we're out of there. Wow. Right now I'm trying to focus between... Splitting focus, I should say, between commentary for this showcase and also just put in a good run, because this is actually a solid run. So again, like I was saying earlier, this layout is rocket ship. So I'm at the top of the screen here, so we can go over. Usually the boss is in the top center of this map. Usually. And we got lucky there. This is Krabadon. Whew. 5 and 4 after this, and this is one of the longer bosses. Again, if you know how to handle them, they're not that bad. And the fights only get easier, again, when you pick up those heart containers. There we go. So on comes phase 2. I guess I can go into a little bit more of the story here. So you play as Lenna, and you go through and you just start fighting these bosses, and it turns out that all these bosses that you're fighting are actually, I don't know if I should say it or not, but they're your students. You learn a lot about this if you watch the cutscenes. It actually explains all of that in the cutscenes, but since we skipped them. And then the whole thing is there's no way that that's true, and your character starts freaking out about it. And that's how you learn how to play the perfect ending, is that, hey, these are my students, and I don't want to fight them, so you do pacifist through the whole game. But right now, we don't know that they're our students, so we are just going to keep fighting them. We got a really good boss layout here. It's going to be an empty screen, and all I have to do is head straight up. One more screen. I almost goofed it there. Which one's this one? Hydranial. Alright. This is probably going to be quicker than the 50 minutes that I was explaining. Again, just got real lucky there. Make sure to pick that up. Oh, just kidding. I know how to play this game, guys. I've played this once or twice. I know how to play this. There we go, and that's that boss done. So we only have one boss left. Like I said, once you kind of learn what you're doing, it's really not that bad. So 4 will be the cat. That was over here. There we go, use some dashing. Whew, did we get a map on this one? We did not. All right, so we do have to find the boss here, and usually the quickest way of doing that is just heading up to the top. Just go to the top and all right. I'll know if I did stuff right. I split that this is the last boss that we have to fight, and these splits are actually looking really good. They're almost looking too good. I'll know after this boss if I missed one or not. But I don't think I did, so. Yeah, it's a really fun game. A lot of replayability. Love the draw of the randomizer. You can do randomizer races. You can enter in your own seed names, so you actually can race somebody else on the same seed. So I really love the draw of that aspect of the game, and hopefully, you know, the race scene kind of picks up. We've done a few just community casual races, but I know there's ways to get this stuff set up. And one of the things that they did add in this update is, or they're going to be adding in the next update, sorry, is when you do like the Link to the Past randomizers. Okay, we did everything right. So we can't do our cutscene skip there, but we can do it right here. All right, and we are done. You'll be able to show what items are where, and you know, just kind of get an insight look as commentary, so you can kind of get a little insight there. There's that. All right. This has been fun. So this is Palace. Palace, again, if you don't know what you're doing, I just went slow. I'm sorry. I'm going slow. If you don't know what you're doing, this place is a giant mess, but if you do know what you're doing, it's a lot of fun. I will check this tunic real quick, just in case it is something. All right, I don't want that. We're going to switch over to the strength tunic here. All right. Trying to focus here a little bit. I'm making it look easy. It's a giant maze, and basically it's trying to show you that the glasses that you get, you can do a lot of fun stuff with them. Because when you're playing normally, you might just think, oh, this will just show me where I can, you know, see through glitch stuff and whatnot. But actually, they're really handy. All right, we don't need that heart. I will save here. There's a little save box here. I will take the time to save. And, all right. So we're on to the final bosses. Here's the chairman earlier. You might have seen this guy. He dropped us into Dungeon 4, and he was on the bridge. Again, this fight might look kind of familiar. You'll see. That right there is a skip. We skip an entire phase of this fight. And this right here, this might look familiar to some of you. Let's do that 4 more times, I believe. You think I would know this off the top of my head, but... Dang it, I missed. Alright. So if you don't skip that phaser when he changes colors, he throws bulls at you. Like, bulls start charging down the screen, and it's a long phase, and it just takes a lot of time. So one day I was playing, and I found out you can just kind of run into him and skip that there. I did find quite a few skips myself and a few others. Really early on, we were able to find out a lot of fun skips, which really just sped this game up quite a bit. And at this point, it just, if you're doing it in the random seed, it's just getting lucky. If you're doing seeded, it's you just gotta hunt and find a good seed. You know, get the items that you want early, get the nice boss order, and yeah. So there's a lot of options, a lot of variety. We don't have an official seed yet, which would be kind of fun to have. All right. So hopefully I don't miss this shot. I have this revolver queued up. It's a one hit shot on the boss. Saves over a minute. And we'll see. This could be it. All right, we were moving. Now we're grooving. All right. Please don't miss this shot. Please don't miss this shot. There we go. I did not miss the shot. And that's it. We just took out the final boss in a blink of an eye like that. And timing stops right now. All right, well, while trying to show you guys this game as a showcase, I also just set the world record. To be fair, it is a random seed, so that's the luck of the draw, I guess. Well, technically, based on the patches, I don't know if we're going to do new section for the new patch, but my record was 43:44, and I just did a 40:18, so I just shaved off a couple minutes in-game time there. This once you beat the game, sacrifice ending, real cool feature that they added for us, both the in-game timer and it detects which ending you got. Excuse me. So as the credits roll here, thank you Tom, thank you Jay, thank you Joel for making this wonderful game. Shout outs to Andrew K as well. This game was in development for 7 years. I know Sex, who's on the board for a marathon or two, he's talked about it. This game was ahead of the curve with the randomizers. Sex Rex, if you don't know what I'm talking about. This game was ahead of the curve of the randomizer scene. It's been in development for 7 years. Tom has put a lot of work into this game. Brought on Joel and Jay and the whole crew. The whole crew. So anyway, fantastic game, wonderful development, real in touch with the community. There's a Discord that you guys can join if you would like to learn how to play the game, or if you just want to show off stuff, or if you need help with certain endings or anything. Pretty active. We have community challenge. We are working on some community challenges and races, and we'd love any help. If you guys know any stuff about that, feel free to hop in and join us. I'll put that down in the description if you guys want to check that out. So that's this game. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it can get into the marathon. Once again, my personal commentary probably not the best as I'm running the game. So hopefully we could get somebody to do the commentary for me and I can chime in. I would prefer to focus on the run. It really is a lovely game. Check it out. It's on Steam. Replayability is off the charts. Check it out. Thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful night.